Yeah. Okay. Welcome to all the attendees. There are two, I think, who are attending today. One of them is Dee Smith, I know, so she's just monitoring what we're doing. But this is a special meeting of ANC 34G. I am Randy Speck. I'm the chair of the commission, and I represent single member district ANC 34G03, which is basically the area between Utah, Nebraska, and Broad Branch. We'll introduce the other commissioners now. And Lisa, you want to begin?
Yes, my name is Lisa Gore, and I'm the commissioner for ANC 34G01. Hello, everyone. Hello, Dee. And my commission is in Hawthorne and portions of Barnaby Woods. I cover from Oregon Avenue to Western Avenue, Beach Street, up past Pinehurst Circle, a little down Tennyson and back over towards the Pinehurst tributary. Thanks for coming, everyone.
Chris? You're muted.
It's from Louis, district number 7, which is bounded by Military, Reno, Nevada, and Nebraska, with a few invasions from Connie and Peters districts.
John?
I'm John Higgins. I am in District 2 on the east. I border Rock Creek Park on Oregon Avenue. To the west, I border Utah. From the south, I go from Military Road near St. John's up until almost near Wise Road.
Peter?
I'm Peter Gosselin. I represent District 6, which is basically the west side of Connecticut Avenue back to 41st, along the Western Avenue border with Maryland, the Chevy Chase Circle, back down to Military and up to 41st with a peninsula to the east, running over to Chevy Chase Parkway.
Michael?
Michael Zeldin. I represent 3G04, which goes from Morrison essentially to Tennyson, Utah, Broad Branch, Western. I have the elementary school, Lafayette Elementary School, and the farmers market within my single member district.
Connie?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Connie Chang, and I'm the commissioner for single member district number 5. And that starts on Legation, east on Connecticut, going up the circle, go to the right on Western, come down on Broad Branch Road, and that kind of hooks back into Legation. And then there's like a little divot there going to Gosselin between Chevy Chase Parkway and Nevada Avenue.
Okay, we have all 7 commissioners here for our special meeting, and so we can conduct our business tonight. Hopefully this is going to be a relatively short meeting. I think everyone's familiar with our general procedures. The commissioners will have audio and video. If you wish to speak, I think you can just raise your hand and we'll permit you to be a panelist then, so that you can have audio and video as well. And if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A or in comments. You can just put them in the chat and we'll keep track of all of that. Now, the only 2 items on our agenda for tonight are the consideration of testimony for various agencies in their budget hearings at the council. This is with regard to the fiscal year 2022 budget. And the other item is to approve our quarterly financial report for the second quarter of fiscal year 2021. And so we'll just begin. I've got just a couple of very, very short announcements that I think are timely. And so I will just make them, and at least they'll be available for anyone who's looking at the video. We did receive a statement today from DDOT that was about the reversible lanes and the parking situation on Connecticut Avenue. They said that they will not be resuming the reversible lanes on Connecticut Avenue starting June 1st, as they had originally suggested. But Connecticut Avenue will remain as it is, at least until they receive and review the findings of the Connecticut Avenue reversible lane study that is still ongoing. Rush hour parking restrictions are being enforced by DPW as of June 1st, and the streeteries will keep their curb lane access. And so that's going to be the situation on Connecticut Avenue. We also got a notice from the Department of Public Works today about parking as well. they are the ones who actually enforce the parking regulations and restrictions. And so they have indicated that they are indeed resuming all parking enforcement as of June 1st, and that the residential parking permits will also be enforced as well as expired tags. Anyone who has let their tags expire needs to get them renewed as of June 1st. It also applies to the registration of out-of-state automobiles and for the abandoned vehicle investigations. So all of that, everything DPW has been doing with regard to parking enforcement is going to resume as of June 1st. The only other announcement I have is that the DC Office of Planning invites everyone to take the visioning survey, which closes on June 24th, and to register for one of the 4 upcoming virtual visioning workshops that are on June 5th, 8th, 9th, and 10th. There are plenty of available slots at those visioning workshop sessions. So please register to attend. You can go to the Chevy Chase Small Area Plan website. And Connie, you have that handy. You might put that in the chat.
Okay, I'll do
Just so
that.
everyone will have that. So please do register for those visioning workshops. Those are going to be really important, and it's an opportunity for everyone to participate in this small area plan process. Okay, any changes or modifications to the agenda for only the 2 special meeting items? And in fact, unless they were noticed, we're not permitted under our bylaws to add anything to that. So, okay, we'll just begin then with the discussion of the testimony for the.
Randy,
Yes, Michael.
I have 2 announcements. if I
Oh,
may.
good. Okay, sorry, I
So one
should have
announcement,
asked.
follow up to your traffic enforcement announcement, is I believe that there is also a ticket moratorium that's
Right.
ongoing. So if people have tickets, this is the time where I think you can get forgiveness if you act quickly. And then secondly, I spoke with the mayor's office today, and the ribbon cutting at Lafayette Pointer will be for sure on June the 12th. They'll be making an announcement soon and have flyers and try to advertise for attendance. There'll be representatives of the Pointer family there, and then they're asking that all of us who want to attend, and I think representatives of the council members will be there that are sort of abut this geography. So
And that's at 11.
I think it's at 11. I'm just waiting for final confirmation, but there should be a fairly robust advertisement campaign by Historic Chevy Chase, who's really been carrying the water on this. I'm just a bit of an interloper. But I wanted to make sure that it's in the public record that it'll be on June the 12th, and we should all come out because it's a significant turning point in this community's evolution.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. I will just mention as well that the mayor was there for the groundbreaking for the new rec center, and she had her daughter there with her as well, and Miranda stole the show, as she typically would. But it was a really nice event, and so I'm glad the mayor is coming there for the dedication as well. Lisa?
Yes, just want to announce that I'm doing a traffic safety assessment, or participating in a traffic safety assessment in Barnaby Woods on 32nd and 3200 block of Worthington Street. So it is a really broad intersection. So if the community has any interest in that, please send me an email, 3g01@anc.dc.gov. A neighbor there, Carolyn Bressler, is taking a lead on submitting an assessment. So I'll submit a letter in support along with pictures of that intersection. and I'm going to hopefully invite DDOT. I would love for them to tour it because it's a really, if you haven't seen it, it's a huge, really big one that has a lot of blind spots, a lot of speeding traffic, as we've kind of had, come up before. So it would be nice, I think, with this one, since it's different than like a four-way intersection or our typical intersections, for them to actually kind of see it for themselves. So I'm hoping they'll be willing to tour that with us. John?
Yeah, is that the one that comes down Worthington and it's kind of a bowl with three streets coming together?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. That was my
Very-
jogging route. That was my jogging route and my
Oh,
jogging days.
okay. So, it's different. It's very odd.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Michael?
Just again, for the record, because there are only 3 people on the call besides us, there are ongoing assessments for traffic assessments for Western Avenue, 32nd Street, and Rittenhouse that I'm aware of, that I've been in contact with DDOT with respect to.
Okay.
Okay, Connie, did you want to say anything about the sidewalk palooza on Friday?
Yes, well, I think we will still launch on Friday, but it doesn't mean that everything happens on Friday. So it begins June 4th, which is Friday, and it ends June 11th. And we've been trying to coordinate and with some biking advocates in the neighborhood. And I think that what we should probably do, which was Lisa's idea, is for each of our single member districts, ourselves and our neighbors, maybe just walk our area and then take photos. I think that's best. So this way we divide and conquer, 7 of us. We could say we launch on June 4th. I have a flyer that I'm halfway in the midst of editing, trying to get the language right. But drafting testimony and all that other stuff. So it's a lot with this volunteer job, but I will finish in Canva, hopefully tonight, and I could send it to you guys. And if you want me to make any changes and so forth, I can, but I think that we'll just have those details out and so forth. Okay, Michael, Peter, is it about me? Did you want to ask?
Just about Sidewalk Palooza. Walking around today, they've got these crews out shaving the sidewalks down. Is that part of this whole process?
What do you mean they're shaving?
So go to the sidewalks at Livingston and Connecticut. Now there's like essentially where the joints are, they've been shaved down so there's no bump.
They must have gotten wind that we're doing this, because we did announce it at our last public meeting. They are beating us to the punch here, which is not a bad thing. Michael?
Let's see if they can do the side streets.
Yes.
One thing, I don't know if it's in your announcement, but my experience in getting sidewalks repaired or street repairs is that putting it into the 311 app is the most effective way to notify the city. So we have to just make sure that people do that. It's very easy on the whatever it is, Lollapalooza. If you come across a sidewalk that's broken, stand right there, go into your 311 app, put in the address will come up right away. The app will find where you are. It takes about 30 seconds and then it's in the system. That's even
better.
Best way to do it.
Okay, because I've been taking photos and then tweeting it, and that and they've been at least doing that too.
You can also put a photo in there.
You can that's exactly right.
You can upload a photo.
You can upload a photo, but if you don't put it into the 311 system, it doesn't get acted upon. And the easiest way to do it is on the spot, do it right then, and you're done.
Okay, because I've been tweeting at them, and then they've been saying, okay, I've got you in the system, here's your number. This works probably even better because it's right in there. So yes, I will put all that information into this little teeny tiny flyer, but the flyer you could send out to your people. And I think that we could also post it on our Facebook page. We could send it out to our email distribution list. We'll try to do it. We have 1 week still. We still have time. Yeah. So we're not totally behind the 8 ball, and I will get you that flyer soon, but it'll be exciting because we need to do this. I've been really worried about a lot of the sidewalks with the trees that are uprooting, pushing up the concrete, and it's just not safe for our older residents.
We should definitely use the 311 system, but I have reported many sidewalks 2 and 3 years ago. Still nothing happened on 311. So
Maybe the Twitter is better. What do you
doesn't
think,
always
Lisa?
work. It doesn't always work.
No,
I've
it
been
doesn't,
getting
but
a lot
You
of
should do
attention.
311. 311 is the
Yeah.
right way to do it.
you can do stuff in addition, but if it's in 311 and then you call up DDOT and you say, you know, this has been pending for this long, and you give them the
Right.
reference number, they have a very difficult time in
Yes.
explaining why it hasn't been
Right.
acted on.
Thank you,
Lisa?
Michael.
So with the Twitter, they give you a reference
Right.
number that you can reference and pull up in 311.
Okay.
So it'll intersect because that number
Same
comes
thing.
in 311.
Right.
It's just they're putting it in there as opposed
Yeah.
to you are.
I kind of like interacting with them, actually. I feel like they're listening to me, so it's
Yeah.
kind of nice.
Twitter shame is the best.
Yeah, that's right. Record and shame.
Okay.
I try
we're-
not to shame. Okay, we got to go.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're
Okay.
trying to do
Thank you.
finish our
I know.
meeting in an hour tonight, and we're way behind already.
Okay.
Okay, let's begin with the testimony in the budget hearing. We got the mayor's budget on May 27th. And the hearings begin tomorrow, the first of the hearings. And we have tried as best we can to anticipate what was going to be in the mayor's budget, but then we've adjusted what our testimony would be based on that. And so we'll go through the ones. These are the agencies that we had particular interest in and had their hearings before our next meeting on June 14th. And so we have to act on them now in order to get testimony approved by the commission for those hearings. So we've divided them up, and the first one on the list is DCPS, public schools, and Michael has been responsible for that. So what I would suggest is that each person sort of summarize the testimony a bit. The drafts, for the most part, I think are on our website now and under meeting information for tonight's meeting. And so if anyone wants to look there, they can find the draft of the testimony. But Michael, you want to begin with DCPS?
Sure. What the gist of the testimony is that Lafayette is presently overcrowded, and projected growth in our community will have them even more overcrowded in the future, short and long term, and that we're asking the council to appropriate money in the budget so that remedies can be found now, so that they can be implemented before it's too late, so that we want to be proactive instead of reactive. I spend some time at the suggestion of everybody on the council, on the commission here, again, emphasizing the availability of Lafayette, of the Episcopal Children's Center as a possible lease opportunity for DCPS, and that I emphasize that DCPS has said in the past that the reason they aren't interested in the ECC is because of lack of budget. So I said, essentially, here's the opportunity to provide that budget and find a creative way to help us. So it's basically to help us find money so that the school can grow consistent with the population in the community, with an emphasis particularly on the opportunity to lease space at the ECC.
Excellent. I thought the testimony is quite good, and I think all the commissioners have had a chance to look at it and to add comments, and several of us did. And thank you, Michael, for putting it all together. Any comments or suggestions about the testimony? John?
Did we at one time get some square foot rental cost from the school, from Episcopal?
We
Some
did.
leasing figures?
We didn't get a hard number, John, which is why I didn't put it in there.
Okay.
They
All
said
right, fair enough.
that they would lease at market rate, and then we extrapolated about what market rate would be. But because it's not part of a an offer and acceptance contract type of negotiation, I just said nothing about the per square foot probable cost.
And it may depend too on the term of the lease, how long the lease is, how much of the
Exactly.
space is taken, all those kinds of things as well. Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that ECC, you know, John and I went through ECC, they went through all the buildings. And, you know, they need a lot of work. They need multiple millions of dollars worth of work before they're suitable for a modern school. Rooms are all the wrong size, the stairways are in the wrong place. It's an expensive proposition. So, I mean, we're talking tens of millions just to fix one of those buildings up.
Well, I guess, Chris, it depends on DCPS regulations. All I know is from information that we received that the Military Road School, which we were told was in move-in condition after they purchased it for $8.4 million, needed about $1 million worth of repair. And that money apparently was found to do that. And so our thought is that if we are bursting at the seams and there is this one space in our area, then whatever the cost is, it has to be fully explored and budget set aside for it because there's no other in district option.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, Michael, you want to move the adoption of the testimony? We can read your lips.
I move the adoption of the testimony, sorry.
Second.
All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, thank you, Michael. Okay, Connie, you want to talk about the testimony for the Housing Production Trust Fund?
Sure. The hearing will take place June 4th, this Friday, and it's being held by the Committee on Housing and Executive Administration, which is Chairperson Anita Bonds. And I am asking us to, well, the testimony talks about how we've spent, the commission that is, spent several years laying the groundwork for creating a more vibrant, town center, enriched civic life that's really grounded in what we call the racial and social equity, values, and that we have, as a commission, sought funding to modernize certain key buildings, to bring in more affordable housing, and also to support the small businesses that are located along the avenue, which we have now called the Chevy Chase Gateway that goes from the Circle to Legation. And I address this to say that given those efforts, we were able to convince with Chairperson Mary Chase help, of course, the $150,000 for a small area plan. And that plan gives us an opportunity to work with our community to flesh out details of how this moderate kind of density increases along Connecticut Avenue will be realized, which is a part of this amendments to the comp plan. And that a part of this small area plan, the boundaries of it encompasses, in my district, which is Chevy Chase Community Center and the Chevy Chase Neighborhood Library. We call it Chevy Chase Public Library, and that effort to look at how do we build in this kind of vibrant business sector, how do we build in affordable housing. It looks like a consensus is kind of forming to focus attention really on this public land, which is the biggest that we have in our district, which the Chevy Chase Community Center and Library sits. And this is, the groundwork was laid to modernize the community center. Then the library got money to modernize. The community center had money wasn't enough, so things stopped, and everything is going to move forward in 2023 together to modernize these buildings. And because they're going to move together, it'll be a unified campus, and there is an opportunity to build affordable housing on top, of both buildings, to co-locate that. And that effort meets exactly with the mayor's goal of creating more affordable housing west of Rock Creek Park West, I guess. And so with those givens and with the small area plan now underway in these visioning workshops, we have found ourselves kind of struggling in a way of how do we build affordable housing? Well, on May 27th, the mayor announced her Fair Shot budget, And in that budget, she has upped by 4 times the contribution, the pledge to the Housing Production Trust Fund. And so the commission in this testimony, I say, we applaud that effort. When you put in $400 million versus $100 million that's been provided to that trust fund every year since 2015, that 4 times greater magnitude of money will allow for certain projects, certainly in high value land, may make that possible, to incentivize developers, either private, nonprofit, or even the district itself, to build to build affordable housing projects. And so I, in this testimony, I want the council and the mayor to know that we appreciate that this has happened, but we would like to work with the district to set aside, with the council and the mayor, to set aside some money out of this pot. So 400 million, 150 is allocated this year, FY 2021. 250 million of the 400 is allocated FY 2022. And so to take a portion of that and set it aside for the kind of work that we would like to do, and that we are ready, we stand ready to work with them, and we stand ready to sort of work out the details. I don't have a specific number. There were reports that the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development, John Valchicchio, said that they're going to survey housing developers to explore how best to utilize the new pot of money, and will offer greater subsidies for projects in areas with high land values, which is their recognition of the importance of public-private partnerships, which in this testimony I highlight that it's necessary in building affordable housing in Ward 3. So that's the extent of the testimony, is to say thank you, and is to say, set aside some money for us, please, and start working with us so that we can make this happen, because it is very important. And we'd like to do our part in meeting the mayor's goal.
Thank you, Connie. Any questions or comments by any of the commissioners? Lisa?
Do we know, or what is our opinion on this? A couple of things struck me in a testimony, and Connie, sorry I didn't have a chance to put these in comments and get it back to you because I was just running around today. But do we have a sense of, I guess what struck me is in a testimony when we said, that we applaud her efforts. And I agree that the increase is a good thing. My concern is it enough? Because maybe 400 million isn't enough. Do we have any sense if the increase is sufficient enough? Or is this, a Band-Aid approach? And my second question is, there was a line where we talked about, Connie, I think you said it was around the developer incentive. I can't remember the exact line, but we talk about the partnerships. And I can't remember if we had public-private or if we also included the nonprofit developer in there as well.
And
I'm
the
sorry, I
itself.
didn't print it.
And
Yeah,
the
we
district
do.
too. I added the district itself because the district may be able to build some of this on its own, depending on what we come up with in the small area plan. That might be a part of the recommendation. So.
I think often when people say public-private, the public is the government, the private is both private companies, nonprofits, NGOs, like all other. So I later clarified that by saying developers incentivize both private, nonprofit, and then Randy added, the district itself. So I think that clarifies.
Okay,
that.
That's what I wanted to make. Okay.
Yeah. And I don't have an answer to your question. I mean, I feel like quadrupling is good, but is it enough? Maybe $1 billion is really where we need to be. But in this article, it does state, the Washington Post covered it, and it states that this is 4 times that is quadrupled, right? And that it's projected to help, quote, help developers build an additional 2,700 subsidized housing units over the next 2 or 3 years. and that it will help expedite her goal of building 36,000 housing units by 2025, 12,000 of them affordable to targeted income groups. So it advances that, you know, it gets to the goal, but is this enough? I don't know.
All right, so
Peter,
one of the
or-
Wait, she's not done yet.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead,
one of the
Lisa.
things I just wanted to say on that, what I wanted to do is try to do a little research to see what some of the housing advocacy groups were saying about the funding level.
Okay.
And if they felt it was sufficient. I didn't have time to do it, but I could do it real quick tonight, you know, later
Okay.
on. And if I find something like really glaring,
Okay.
you know, I'll bring it to the commission's attention, and just, you know, for the commission to consider. If you know, there's a large outcry that says this is just absolutely not enough, to consider, you know, putting something in a testimony where we say, you know, we applaud the advancement towards that goal. However, you know, whatever, you
Okay.
know, we could come
Okay.
up with one line, but that's just the concern that I have, that, you know, to make sure that we really understand if that level is, you know, a good sufficient level, or are we, you know, has the funding of the Housing Production Trust Fund been lapsed for so long that this 400 million is kind of a catch up, but it's also a Band-Aid to where we really should be with the funding level.
Peter?
Perhaps to Lisa's point, my understanding was that it's been reported as an increase from 1 to 4. But I thought the 100 million was a one-year figure, and that the 400 million was a multi-year figure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It is. So the 100 million is every year. It's in the act. So there is a housing production trust. It's in the footnotes. I printed out the testimony. It doesn't have the footnotes, but there's an act that says, yeah. So it's every year, but the 400 million commitment is across 2 years. So it's 150 million. Okay, for this year that's almost ending, and then it's 250 million for FY 2022. So really, it's not a quadrupling per year. Okay, it's just total together. It's a quadruple. So we could be more precise there.
Okay.
Michael, you have something?
Yes, the only thing I wanted to say, Connie, and I meant to put this in a comment to you, which is whenever we say affordable housing, we should have a footnote which indicates that we define affordable housing at the levels that we talked about at 50% or whatever it is, that we don't accept the 80 to 120
Right. We should-
definition.
That's correct.
We should
Okay, so-
use the same language in our resolution about about housing, which was focus on 50% and lower.
Right.
Right.
So in the testimony, I have a paragraph in there that says the housing, I think it's in the footnotes, that the Housing Production Trust Fund, 50% of it is allocated to under 30% area median income. The next 40% is allocated to below 50, and then the rest is like under 80 or something. There's some, it's like a staggered thing, but I could not find a resolution. So we need, I want, it's not online.
It's not
The
online.
housing rec, we need that resolution. I know that at one point we were trying to consolidate it for the standing committee, but I think it needs to be pulled out so that I can use it. I need that footnote, and I couldn't find it. And I'm happy to refer to it. Okay, I refer to everything I could in the testimony and everything else that we've done, you know, the previous commission and our current commission, but we need to do that.
Where did it go? I mean,
It's not
never
up there.
been-
It's never been posted.
It's never been
Never been
finalized.
posted.
We've never sent it to Stephanie to post. Because I haven't seen a final version of it.
We don't have a final version because there's disagreement on what the final version would look like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Remember initially we said one version, then we said 3 separate versions. So
Oh, you
I
mean
don't
would
think
it
the
be
commission is-
consolidated? I don't care. I don't care, really. I
Well,
really
I
don't
mean,
care.
I think it should be separate.
I produced a clean copy days after the vote in March. So I mean,
I didn't,
Yeah. It's
okay,
been,
But after
we
the-
haven't seen it. We
After
haven't
the
seen
copy
it.
was produced is when we had some internal disagreement about what the final resolution would look like.
well, I
No,
tell you what,
just the structure. right? That's
Right.
the only, it's not the substance, right?
Right.
Why don't I send around whatever the clean copy is? We can post that as a,
Okay.
a working document or something like that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, well, let's try to get a final for the housing, because I think it should go to
Yeah,
the
okay,
date.
fine with
It
me.
should go to the date, so then I can grab it, like it's still under there. So I think it's important. I'm glad that Michael brought that up.
Okay. With
Okay,
regard
so
to
I
the-
move.
oh, well,
What,
just
with
one second.
regard,
With
with
regard,
regard to the affordable housing, but I couldn't say that because I didn't have the document. I couldn't point to the document. So
Right.
we need the document is what I'm saying.
Well, I don't think we
final.
really need the document to say it. We could reference our, as a reference, we could
yeah,
reference the meeting, but.
it's nice to have it, but if we
Yeah.
don't have it, it's fine too.
But we
Yeah.
have it. I mean, what? So why don't
We can get it up tomorrow. We can-
What the-
Well, please,
we
please
can-
send it around.
We can
Send
get it
it
up
after.
tomorrow.
Thank you, please.
I've
Yes,
been
and then I
wanting
can,
to have it as well.
yeah, I
Yeah.
really need it.
We have to just make sure that all of these resolutions, because when I had to go to you, Randy, to get the resolution on DC military roads. I just can't find things on.
Well, it's under documentation, resolutions.
Resolution.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's
It's there.
that's
And
that's
they're
now
all
clear.
basically in chronological order too. So you just go back to February or January when we adopted it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look again. I just had trouble finding it, but
It's
I'm
okay.
sure, as in most cases with me, it's user error.
You're juggling too much.
No, I'm just not that smart.
Oh, Michael.
Stop it.
No.
Not true. Okay, so
Lisa-
I move.
Well,
Go.
no, just one second. Lisa, with regard to your question about whether it's enough, it's my understanding that at least the original infrastructure bill that Biden proposed would have included money for housing as well.
Right.
But whether that's going to survive or not, who knows? But certainly if it did, then a big chunk of that would go to the Housing Production Trust Fund.
Right. Okay.
So there may be opportunities for more money later on as well.
And also in the American Rescue Plan, which has passed.
There was,
there's
well, all of
$40
this,
billion.
virtually all of this 400 million is coming from the American Rescue Plan. That's federal money that is being used for that purpose.
Okay, so go ahead.
So
and
when is that expected, Randy? Just so when do
The
we?
infrastructure bill,
Yeah.
who knows?
The 400 million, we don't know. Sorry. Okay,
400
all right.
million is
Sorry.
in 400 million. We have that.
That's
We
fast.
that was in the American Rescue Plan that was passed by the Congress shortly after Biden came in. But we don't know about the infrastructure plan, which is a whole
it.
new
Right. Okay, that's where I'm
bag
going.
of money.
Okay, I move.
Okay, now,
I move
I
that
said,
my. You don't even know what I'm moving. Don't second until I finish. I move that my draft testimony be whatever up for that. It's okay
well, and you'll make
for
adjustments as
Oh, yes,
necessary.
I will make adjustments. I will make
Okay.
adjustments. Everything that you send me tonight and tomorrow,
Okay.
I'll make adjustments, and then I'll be ready to send the written testimony and then to testify on Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor of adopting the testimony?
Oh, myself, my God.
7-0. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. The next item on the agenda was the Office of Advisory Neighborhood Commissions. And I think we've decided that we're not going to offer testimony by the commission, but I will just briefly review what's going to happen on Friday when this testimony is up. There have been several commissioners who've gotten together, and we had a conversation with Councilmember White, Robert White, who's the chair of the committee that oversees the OANC. And he was frustrated with the OANC's failure in the past to spend money that the council had appropriated for them. And they just hadn't done what the council had asked them to do. And he thought that it would be useful to have something like a strategic plan to give the OANC some direction on what kinds of things we thought they ought to be doing. And so a group of us put together a survey, which went out to all 300 ANC commissioners, current ANC commissioners. And we got responses back from about 70 of those, which is about a quarter of the total. And so then we put together, largely Chuck Elkins and ANC 3D, put together a summary of that, the survey results, and it identified the kinds of things that commissioners expected from the OANC, and not the kinds of things that they're already giving training on, like how to conduct meetings and ethics requirements and getting your financial statements, quarterly financial statements done, those kinds of things, about sort of the operations of the ANCs, but how individual commissioners can do their job better by interacting with the agencies, having some expertise that they can rely on for specialized areas that require some expertise. And so he put together, with help from some of the others of us, some recommendations about what the OANC should be doing to provide help for us in the future. And also a suggestion that there be a group of commissioners who would be advisors, essentially, to the OANC to give them direction, and would act on behalf of the council as well, to try to make sure that the OANC was providing the kinds of things commissioners really need. And so this testimony is on Friday, and Chuck is going to be giving the summary of that those survey results. And then several others of us are, as individual commissioners, are going to be testifying, basically saying, me too, we think this is a really good thing, we ought to pursue this. And then being available to answer any questions that the council member has, or any of the council members on the committee have, about this proposal. And I know Councilmember White has been frustrated by the OANC's lack of follow-up to a lot of things in the past. He told us that other council members are also frustrated because they've appropriated money that then hasn't been spent. And so he's also asked the OANC to give him some reports on various initiatives that the council charged the OANC with undertaking that haven't been done. And the last I heard, he still hadn't gotten a response from OANC, although he'd given them a bunch of deadlines. So anyway, suffice it to say that we've got to start expecting more and demanding more from the OANC to really help us out in the kind of day-to-day work that we do, especially the work with the agencies. And so that's the thrust of the testimony that Chuck's going to give and that I will just support.
So
yes, Michael?
is anyone going to suggest that it's time for a leadership change and that the incumbent be made emeritus and that there be new leadership that's more, sort of learned in the types of things that we actually need, technology and communications and other?
I have suggested that privately to the council member, and I don't think he wants to do that in a public forum, which I understand. And so he's perfectly aware of the issue and perfectly aware of our concerns in that regard.
And is this position that the incumbent holds one of a recurring appointment? How does one do that job?
He is an employee of the council, and the council appoints him, and presumably the council could remove him, but he probably has regular civil service type protections there. But it's really he works for the council and is an employee of the council, as I understand it.
So he can be transitioned. Probably
Yes.
within the government, consistent with regulations, but not.
Right. Peter?
Has this group of commissioners who you've been talking with and who done the survey talked about the issue of perhaps a non-binding vote among the commissioners about the tenure of the director?
I just don't, we haven't talked about that. In fact, we've been trying to work with Gottlieb to make sure he wasn't being blindsided by this survey. We showed it to him in advance, got his some suggestions on some things. He's aware of what we're doing, but it's not. Gottlieb's a good guy, and I don't want to just cut his legs out from under him. And
He sounds like he's doing a good deal cutting himself.
yeah. I mean, he certainly hurt himself with the council significantly, and they don't have the confidence in him that they should have for any director of OANC. Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I'm a big fan of Gottlieb. I know none of you people like him, but I've been dealing with him for 12 years.
I'm
And,
sorry, I don't
Okay, I
agree
won't
with
say
this
like,
statement.
but
No, just don't, if you will, don't attribute to me at least.
I didn't attribute anything to you. I'm just talking to the group.
No, but you're that, I'm a member of the group and you're attributing to this group that we don't like him and I'm not going to accept that.
Okay, well, I've been
representation.
listening to everybody talking about how they think maybe he ought to be replaced. And okay, I disagree with that. Okay. Well, you know, you're nitpicking here. But I've had very good relationships with him. I think one of Gottlieb's problems is he has a tiny budget. Now he's getting a bigger budget, but he's never had enough money to work with. So I think, you know, given what he's gone through over the years, I think he's been very useful. And whether, you know, a bigger office with some more dynamic people in there might help out, you know, maybe that would work. But I'm not so sure I'm ready to, you know, throw him under the bus.
No one is suggesting that he be thrown under the bus or that he be removed in this testimony or anything we're doing. That's not on the table. And
You're talking about removing him from office.
no, we're not. This group that I've been working with and the testimony that's going to be presented, none of that's going to suggest that Gottlieb be removed in any way.
Let me just
None
say,
of
I've
it.
enjoyed working with him over 12 years.
Right. I like
problems
Gottlieb.
with him.
I like Gottlieb, and I've for 9 years, I've had a very good relationship with him as well. So, you
The
know,
big problem is he doesn't have any staff. So, I mean, he's got this big responsibility, got 1 or 2 staff people. I mean,
part of it was though, Chris, he did get money for additional staff, and he took 1.5 years to hire them.
well,
So that's a problem.
That's a problem. Yeah.
John?
I think we're kind of digressing a little bit here. Should we, even though we're not presenting our own testimony, should we take a vote tonight in support of this initiative and what the other commissioner is doing, who's heading this up?
We certainly could if someone makes a motion to do that.
Well, I'll make a motion to support that initiative by the person in ANC 3D.
What
Chuck,
regard,
yeah.
John, is specifically the motion that you're putting forward? What are you saying specifically, please?
I guess we would support the effort headed by what Chuck Elkins.
Okay.
Yeah. And the
Yes, to
summary,
help-
the summary, I think is a 5-page paper that Chuck prepared.
Yeah, all right, we could support that report and recommendations and suggestions by that initiative.
Well,
I don't know
I would second that. I was involved in helping prepare it, and so I have no problems with it. But it hasn't been thoroughly reviewed, I think, by the whole group, and so that I would hesitate to. I certainly don't want to push it on people who have not had an opportunity to thoroughly digest it. Lisa?
Right.
I was going to say just that. And you know, I have read that report and I did take the survey, so I followed it very closely. But I would just caution us on, you know, even something that seems as, you know, simple and as sure-footed as this. If you haven't read it, if you don't know all the content, you know, I just really caution us in doing that. off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you all the key aspects of that report right now. And I don't know if everyone on the commission has read it. And, I don't know if everybody understands what's in the report. So that would be my only caution.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you, Lisa, on that one, that even though I feel perfectly comfortable with it, I'm not sure everyone has gotten to that level of comfort.
Okay,
And we can do it the way we can.
I can withdraw, I guess I can withdraw that at that point.
Okay,
so I have a question.
Peter, yes,
So, in fact, we're not taking any vote on this issue.
correct.
Okay, so
Correct.
when you testify, you are testifying in your capacity as an ANC commissioner, not as a representative of 3G.
Correct. As an ANC commissioner who helped prepare the survey and the report.
Okay, well, with all that said, maybe we should go on to the rest of the other testimony.
Okay, that's fine with me. Yeah. Okay, the next one is DC Water. This is a reprise, basically, of the testimony that we filed in March on DC Water's oversight hearing. And it supported, at that time, the request by DC Water and the chair of the board of DC Water, who is the head director of, Tommy Wells, the director of Department of Energy and Environment, for $350 million from the federal funds to fund the removal of lead service lines throughout the district at no charge to customers. Now, I've been working with a number of advocates and activists on this issue for several years, but more actively in the last 6 months, particularly. And we have had a number of meetings with DC Water, and I am impressed actually with some of the work that they've been doing to develop a plan for how they would actually do this and how they could do it for $350 million or less. And so we strongly supported their request. And then it was supported by 6 council members as well, in a request to the mayor that she include that $350 million from federal funds, which are specifically earmarked for, at least it is possible to use the federal funds for lead service pipe removal. Disappointingly, in the mayor's May 27th proposed budget, however, she allocated only $15 million for not only lead service pipe removal, but also lead paint mitigation. And that is a pitiful sum.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely pitiful. And for an issue that is so important and affects so many people in the district, there are tens of thousands of lead service lines in the city right now that are a danger to all of the residents of the district. And so she basically would continue the current program as it is, and it's very, very, very limited subsidy for some customers, where most customers still would have to pay for the lead service line removal themselves. And so we again reiterate that this was not an acceptable number and that we need to allocate a lot more money to this important health and safety issue. And it's just a reiteration of what we've said previously on this, and then a reaction to the mayor's proposed budget. Connie?
I have a question. If the federal funds are earmarked, where is the rest of the request going? Like, if it's only 15 million,
they're
what
not-
happened to
they're not
what
earmarked.
happened to the other? What happened to the other money?
I
Where's it going?
misstated in the sense that they're earmarked. They're not earmarked. They are just permitted to be used for this purpose.
So-
It's
So
a pot of money that can be used for a variety of purposes, one of which is lead service line removal.
Yeah. Yes, I understand. So I guess I'm asking, she's not putting money on the table. She's not leaving money on the table. She's using that money elsewhere,
Right.
right? So
Right.
what's the competing? Do we know the
I-
competing?
It's hard to say because there was $2.2 billion,
Right.
and
Okay.
we're looking for 350 million of it. So it's
Right.
really everything else in the budget, whatever that is. So, and part of it is the Housing Production Trust Fund, which we're saying should also be
Right.
included in the budget. We're supporting
Well,
that.
Well, I think your testimony is pretty strong when you say that by such a low investment, we're leaving it to 2 generations beyond us to try to solve this problem, which means that, I mean, this is a problem that needs to be solved today. It needed to be solved 20 years ago when it first came out. This is, I think, in fact, I was thinking after I reviewed the testimony that we have to use stronger words than that, Randy. I mean, even that last paragraph, like the paragraph before that, we say we're disappointed and so forth is too, but I think we need stronger language. It's got to be stronger because this is a travesty. You know, it's a human right, water.
Yeah.
I mean, the 15 million is just not enough.
Well, the language you suggested in the last paragraph, I thought was pretty strong. So
I want it to be stronger. I want it to
even
be even stronger, even
Okay.
stronger. We got to nail it because this is so wrong. It's embarrassing, actually. It's embarrassing. And we're part of the district, and I think we need to make a very strong point that this is, it shows maybe just a lack of understanding, you know, a lack of understanding of the problem, because the mayor expresses leadership in other ways. And so I thought maybe there was like a number missing. So like 15 million must have been a number missing. But anyway.
Well, I think we've done some education. We've had meetings with Mary Chang and her staff. We've had meetings with Janice Lewis George and her staff. It wasn't just me, it was the scientists who really know this stuff, who I rely on very heavily. And they were very, very good. We have a meeting, we finally got a date today for a meeting with Deputy Mayor Baybars, who oversees the Department of Energy and Environment and therefore has the oversight from the mayor's office on this issue. And so we're trying to educate her as well. And so I mean, we're really, really making that effort to get everyone up to speed on the science and the consequences of not doing anything for something as important as this. Lisa?
Yeah, I agree with Connie, and I've told the commission before, this is another issue. I have a lot of issues that are close to my heart, but working investigations in the IG's office, that lead paint, we saw a lot of fraud connection to abatement with that. Just prior to my retirement, that was an issue that we were working on with EPA OIG, their Office of Investigation, trying to do something joint. HUD's Office of Investigation has always kind of partnered on the federal level at a headquarters level with other agencies, to address this for years. We've been, working investigations on this, and it is so disheartening. And I guess, I agree with Connie. The only thing that was left with me with this testimony was, what do we do to continue beating the drum and to get the administration to understand how critical these lead issues in paint and housing and pipes and water is so critical to our young kids that still ingest these products, including lead, that's tracked into the soil. That's another area of lead that's come under, federal scrutiny. I don't get it. And I think Connie asked a really good question. What are the competing interests? Because this is a medical issue. It's a public safety issue. It's a public health issue. And the ramifications, especially for young kids. And we said it right. There's no, safe level of lead. It affects them for life. And I'm sure it's a contributor to some of the things that we see happen with our young kids in education, criminal justice systems. All these things kind of connect to their health when they are affected by this. So, strong language, as strong as we feel comfortable as getting, putting in there, I think
Well,
it's,
if you guys want to suggest something more to strengthen that language, I'm certainly open to it. But it's pretty strong now, and I think we got to be a little bit careful about not coming off as being sort of ranting about it.
Sure.
But the other thing is, Connie and I are going to participate in a roundtable with EPA on June 11th, and we are minor players, I think, in the whole thing, but it's got a lot of very high-powered people in the district. This is a roundtable that they competed to have it with EPA. EPA had a competition essentially for cities that wanted to host a roundtable, and DC won, one of 10 cities that won this roundtable to talk about the lead and copper rule that is now pending at EPA. And this is lead and copper in water specifically. And so it is they're about to change their regulations. And one of the things that we're pushing is that rather than having an action level that is like 15 parts per billion, that the action level should be much, much lower when a utility has to actually take aggressive action, and closer to 1 part per billion, because EPA acknowledges, and most utilities acknowledge, that, as Lisa said, there's no safe level of lead. So if they found any lead out there, they should be trying to get it out. So that's, we're working on a number of fronts here to try to address this issue. And it's not, DC Water's got a lot of culpability on this. They've covered the problem up for a long time, back in 20 years ago, as Connie suggested. And the District of Columbia didn't do anything to hold them accountable for it. So they don't come with clean hands, I know. But at this point, what we really got to do is find a way to get it fixed as quickly as possible. And that means within this decade, by 2030, we ought to get rid of all of the lead service lines in the district. And we can do it. It's being done in places like Pittsburgh and in Newark. They're actually making headway on eliminating that problem. So we need to be doing it as well. And I'll take any suggestions anyone has for strengthening the language.
I don't get it. I just don't get why the city, the council, the communities are not screaming about this. I just don't get it.
Well, there were 6 council members who recommended the 350 million. If they have one more, they'll have a majority, and that could really get something in the at the council level in the budget on this. So I will just mention too, the other agency whose hearing is coming up as well is DOEE, and they are basically the dispensers of the money. And so the testimony for DOEE will be essentially identical to the testimony for DC Water. And just reiterating that to the committee. It's the same committee in both instances, Mary Chay's committee. So we'll be hitting them at least twice, and probably more than that.
I'd just like to observe we're well over an hour now. So
I realize that.
I'm not going to change the testimony. I think I want to vote on it.
Okay, I agree. Unless there's some additional, more aggressive language that Lisa and Connie want to come up with. So I'll move that we adopt the testimony for both DC Water and DOEE. Is there a second? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Okay, the last one on our list then is the Office of Planning, and Peter, you are up.
Yeah. So the testimony includes edits from Randy and Lisa, all of which were taken. It focuses entirely on the issue of small area plans and really makes only 2 points. One is that the budget items that in the OP budget that support small area plans are being cut. And the other is that we need some money to try to supplement what is already going on in our small area plan. And we try to make the case for that. Let me address just a couple of concerns of Lisa's. With regard to the issue at the end of the testimony of my saying, we would look at the OP facilitator's contract. I didn't in any way mean to suggest that I was seeking oversight of that. I just wanted to say, look, we will work with you to try to find a rational number that would, is based on something other than our, pulling it out of the air. So that would, and I've changed the language there, and I hope have accommodated you.
Okay.
Okay. And Michael, Lisa shortened it some, so
Yeah, I read it.
that'll make you happy. I mean,
I read it.
I'm operating on fumes at this point. So it's,
I wasn't, that's why I wasn't criticizing. I know that you're burning the candle at both ends. I just thought if we shortened it, we made our point a little bit more effectively. And I read it when you distributed it today, and it seems perfectly fine to me.
Randy, I would ask this of you, since you've testified on this before, would you just backstop me on the numbers? It's category 3010 and 3020. It looks like they've changed the heading, the division name from neighborhood planning and design to community planning and design, but the line items are the same numbers as you testified were reduced in last year's budget, and which it looks to me as if the council reacted to and boosted them back up. But I may have it wrong. The numbers in the approved budget for this fiscal year are higher than those for the previous fiscal year. And your testimony says that the mayor's proposed numbers for this fiscal year were 23% lower than the previous fiscal year. So I'm assuming that what happened was that the council heard what we said, what you said, and what others presumably said, and increased it. And so
They did.
Yeah. So you might,
I'll look.
yeah.
Okay. You want to make a motion, and we'll
move that this testimony be approved for me to deliver to the committee as a whole.
Second. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay.
So may I ask a procedural question, Randy, with respect
Certainly.
to these testimonies? Is it the contemplation that we who were the primary authors would orally present them? And if so, what are the logistics in doing
Yes.
this?
Have you
Signed up.
to be a witness?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Okay, you have to sign up. You have to sign
Yeah,
up.
maybe actually that testimony is tomorrow too, right? The hearing is tomorrow.
Yeah, but I didn't sign up to testify because I didn't know that whether we'd have it finished, because I wasn't.
Yeah.
From the LSAT and others.
Just for future reference, what I typically do is if there's any possibility that we're going to testify, I sign up.
Oh, okay.
And then you can always cancel it. You can always cancel it, but it's probably too late now. But what you should do is there is I'll send it to you, but there's you can submit it in writing, and that's probably the best we can do, unless you can just show up tomorrow. I don't know how they do that. When we're having in-person testimony, you can just show up, and if they had time, they would take you. But I don't know how they do it with virtual.
They send you the Zoom link. They send you the Zoom link the day before.
Yeah, you get a Zoom.
Yeah, I did that in
link.
the last testimony, but because I knew that we were going to testify, I just didn't know whether we'd get consensus on this, because the LSAT didn't get in touch with me until the middle of the morning today, and they had nothing to add to the testimony. And so I tended to not want to sign up and then cancel, because I thought that made us look bad.
No, they don't care. They don't care. It's just the staff people who see it anyway, so they don't care.
Okay, well, if you send me this, whatever
I'll
the
send it
stuff
to you.
is, I'll
Right.
see what I can do, and if not, I'll submit it
Okay.
in writing.
All right.
In this regard, Randy, could I just make a procedural suggestion? And maybe once we all get in harness on this, it won't make any difference. But given that you see these lists first, would it be smart if you planes just signed us up for?
I could.
Just so that we got. I mean, I have a few. I assume
Well,
I can still get in, but I have forgot to sign up for OP. So I mean, I think that's the 10th, so it's a ways away.
Right.
You're gonna be okay.
Tomorrow, but I
Usually it's about 24 hours in advance.
Yeah.
They-
You're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, this is
Right.
this is a really, you keep thinking, well, no, we need to draft the testimony and talk, get it past the commission, and then we're apt to focus on that and not to sign up. So you might want to just
Yeah.
start signing
Well,
up.
just for everyone's information, I sent around the schedule.
Mhm.
At the end
That
of the
has it.
schedule,
Yeah.
they have the procedures for signing up.
I can give you the link in the chat. I can go get it. Give me a second.
And that's fine. For me, Randy, I just didn't know whether
Right.
it was bad to sign up and cancel, whether there was an expectation and then we weren't meeting that expectation. So I just didn't sign
It's
up.
done all the time. Done all the
Yeah,
time.
but-
Yeah, and usually the council members are ecstatic if somebody doesn't show up.
Yeah, well,
And say, oh, we don't have to listen to as many.
even though it feels like I've been on the ANC for a decade, it's just been a few months, so I don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay.
Okay, I will try to do that, Peter, in the future. Although it won't be next year. Maybe, who knows? All kinds of things come up between now and then when we might want to testify about something.
So now we have quarterly report to do?
Yes, and
Wait,
John, you want to, Connie?
sorry. Okay, do we have other agencies that we're going to testify for us to bring testimony for our June 14th meeting? I know that
No.
I don't have my
For
sheet.
the 14th? Yes, there
We have a
the-
few, right?
three.
Correct.
There are three.
Okay.
It's the Department of Parks and Rec for the community center, the
Right,
public library for the library,
right.
and the last one is the Office of Aging and Community Living. And
Mhm.
we may or may not do anything on that, but that's just generally for senior programs.
Yeah, The
that-
Wellness Center.
and
Maybe
we
we
have-
can put that together for the,
Well, we've got time to do that.
Okay.
That's for our meeting on the 14th.
okay,
I sent
Thank you.
that draft agenda out today, and it has those three agencies on it.
okay, thank you.
And I'll do the ones for the community center and library, since I think it's basically the kind of thing that we did last
Mhm.
year in trying to get a consolidation of the schedules for those two. And by the way, it's going to be important, I think, for us to have talked to Mary Che before we do that testimony. And we've got that meeting with Mary next week. And so we want to, I think, find out what she thinks about getting the additional money for that and for coordinating the two projects so that they become a consolidated project essentially, rather than two separate projects on two separate time schedules,
Okay,
funding schedules, certainly. Okay.
all right.
John, you want to talk about the quarterly report and any checks that we have to approve?
Right, okay. I sent the report around to everyone and I also sent a short note. So I will just read that for the record and we can vote on the motion. So the first item is the quarterly report. The ANC quarterly report for the ONC for FY21 second quarter shows an ending balance of $22,903.02. The report has been completed and is ready for submission to the ANC. Of note, during May 2021, the ANC received an OANC allocation of $4,719.60. So I have a proposed motion, which goes as follows. Move that ANC 34G approve the FY21 second quarter report for submission to the ONC with the required signatures.
I had
Need a
one
second?
question. Well,
Yes.
Yeah, I had one question before we vote on it. The only expenditures we had were the communications, which I assume is the Zoom meetings,
Right.
and then $25 for other, which I think was a
That was the security fund. I think.
yeah, security. Well, yeah, security fund probably. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there were no personnel costs at all in the quarter.
No, there were not. Though we're unfortunately, we're doing the same thing as we did last year, doing a catch up with Stephanie. She doesn't submit her bills very often.
Yeah.
And the whole personnel thing, I'm just finally digging my way out of. So for this quarter, we have paid her for, we paid her, we have checks now drawn for her and signed. And they're in next time I see her, I will give them to her. So for her first quarter of service for January to March.
Okay.
And then we'll follow up with the rest to get her up to speed
Okay. So it's
for
just,
April, May, and June.
it's not that we didn't incur any costs then, but we didn't pay any costs.
We just didn't pay any costs.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
have. She submitted a whole stack of her weekly or her bi-weekly hours and when wages and so forth.
Right.
So I'm working off that. But
Okay.
yeah. So that's
Okay.
where we are with that.
Any other questions about the quarterly report? Okay, all those in favor of adopting the quarterly report for the second quarter of 2021, 7-0. Okay. And then checks.
Next item is one check. I move that the commission agree to reimburse Commissioner Speck $222.58 for Zoom teleconferencing services.
Is there a second? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Thank you. A little bit longer than we had planned, but I think we went through this fairly efficiently. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay, Peter, good luck with your move. Good luck with getting your your Wi-Fi up.
Good luck, really. My God. I passed by
Michael?
your house.
Wait till
Peter.
we pass by a week from now and it ought to be a holy mess, so.
Michael?
One last thing, which is, so are we settled on the next meeting's agenda? Or is that going to still be
Oh.
through email that we communicate? with
Yeah, we'll
one
just do
another?
that through emails because, we have more to do on that meeting than we can possibly hope to do. And so we're still, I know Chris and Connie were interested in having the Chevy Chase Rescue Squad on that at the 14th.
I just got a letter from them, so I'm gonna read it and then
Okay,
I'll respond
okay.
to you.
All right. But we have to pare it down a little bit or we're just going to be there all night and we're just going to have people making presentations, at 11 o'clock or something. So that's not a good
Okay.
idea.
That date is not confirmed with the commander, so it might not
Okay.
be a good date for him.
Yeah, right.
All right.
Okay.
Oh, just one other thing, just for the record, I spoke to the lieutenant who spoke to us last week.
Right.
Olivier.
Yeah, Marlon. And he said that they're still ongoing in their inquiry of the flasher. It's now been turned over to like youth services because the guy seems to be targeting children and they therefore have the lead. He said that he would still be on the case, but they have the lead. He said the guy seems pretty aware of where cameras are or aren't, and he's staying like in the alleys and in houses under renovation, so they haven't gotten a good shot. That they have several descriptions of him, and I asked him about placement of cameras, like at the Lafayette playground, because of who was being targeted, and he said that's something that he can look into, but it's not necessarily within his domain to make that recommendation. So we can think about that too, whether there's something we can do with DCPS about putting some sort of cameras
Or
up there.
DPR in the
Or
park.
DPR, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. because it's the upper playground, which is the
Right.
school, and then the lower, which is the park.
Right. Okay. Anything else before we adjourn? Okay, thank you very much. We'll see everyone on the 14th, if
Good
not
night.
before.
Oh, yeah, we have our sidewalk palooza, so we might see
Right.
each other. Okay.
Also,
Okay.
the 11th, the park. The
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
right,
gonna-
correct.
I'm gonna be out of town for that, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
June,
I'll be here.
Yeah, June 12th.
okay. All right. Thank
Bye,
you all.
guys.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.